Hi everyone, so in this Redux tutorial for beginners in 2020, we're gonna learn about this. Okay everyone, so in this Redux tutorial for beginners in 2020, we're gonna make this application. It's a simple application with a title and this counter, and when I click on this plus sign, it's gonna increment the number, and if I click on the minus button, it's gonna decrement the number. Alright. And we're also gonna click on login, and it's gonna change the state and show you're logged in with a logout button. And if I click on logout, it's gonna change back to the login button. All right. And also we're gonna use this button from Semantic UI to get some extra styling to our buttons. All right. Okay, so this is the application we're gonna build with React and Redux. So let's do this. Okay, so in this React Redux tutorial for beginners, we're gonna use an IDE called VS Code, Visual Studio Code, and if you don't have that one, you can just go to Google, search for VS Code, and go to this one, click on that, and just download for Mac if you have Mac, and download for PC if you have a PC. Alright, and install everything, but you don't have to use Visual Studio Code. You can also use other IDEs as well, no problem. But in this tutorial, we're gonna use Visual Studio Code. Okay, so just pause the video, install this Visual Studio Code if you don't have it. After that, we're just gonna go and minimize this one. Okay, so we're gonna create a folder, so where we're gonna store our application. So I'm just gonna do Redux tutorial like that. Okay, then we can open up Visual Studio Code. Okay, so here we're gonna go to the top left corner, click on this Explorer, and now click on Open Folder right here, or you can just go to the menu, click on File, click on Open. Okay, so just choose our new folder. So in this case, Redux tutorial. Click on Open. Like that. So now we have the Redux tutorial folder right here. And now we're gonna go and open a new terminal. Like so. Okay, so now we're gonna create a new React app. So to do this, we're gonna type in npx create dash react dash app and hit space. And after this space, we can name this application to whatever we like. So we're gonna just name this to Redux my app, something like that. Hit enter, and now this will create a new React application with all the basic settings that we will need. And while this is being installed, we can go to the browser and we can go and open up Google, and we can search for Semantic UI. So we're gonna use Semantic UI to get some nice buttons, so we don't get this boring standard black and white small buttons. All right, so we can go click on menu and click on buttons, and we're gonna use some of these buttons to style plus and minus and the login button and also logout button. All right, so we can go and open up a new tab, and we're gonna search for Semantic UI CDN like that. All right, so choose the first one, and we're gonna go down and find this one, semantic.min.css, and click on copy. Alright, so let's go back to Visual Studio Code, and everything is installed. And as you can see, we now need to go to CD and the name of the application. So right here we're gonna type in CD Redux dash my dash app and hit enter. Alright, so as you can see, we are now in the new project folder, Redux my app, and now we can start up this application by doing npm start. So do this, npm start, hit enter. Alright, so now we got a new React application. This is the basic application that you get every time you install React. So now we can go back to Visual Studio Code and open up this one and click on source. And if you click on this one, app.js, so this is the code we are seeing. We see the logo, we see this paragraph edit, and we see this link, learn React. Okay, so we're gonna delete all of this code from the header to the header, like so. And we're gonna replace this with a div and just add our app. And if we hit save and go back to the browser, we now see our app right here. So everything else is deleted. Alright, so now we're gonna go and add the Semantic UI to our project. So we're gonna click on public, go to index.html, and in the head tag we're gonna add a link. So I'm just gonna do link, hit tab, like that. So the code is less than link space rel equals, and we got the double quote style sheet double quote space href equals, and double quotes, and inside of these double quotes we're gonna add this link that we just copied, and we're gonna end this with a greater than, like so. So hit save. Okay, so now we can use Semantic UI. So if you go to the browser and we go to Semantic UI, we see all the things that we can use. So we got buttons, container, divider, flag, header, icons. We also got cards. So we got a lot of things that we can use from Semantic UI. But in this tutorial, we're only gonna focus on simple buttons to make some styling to the plus and to the minus. Alright, so let's go back to Visual Studio Code. And now we're gonna go to the app.js. And now we're gonna add the buttons, we're gonna add the text, and everything that we're gonna need before we're gonna connect Redux to our application. Alright, so first we're gonna just add a title, a simple h1 title. We're gonna add our app right here, and we're gonna add a paragraph with the text counter 0, like that. And we're also gonna have 2 buttons. With a plus and a button with minus. Okay, so if I hit save and let's go back and have a look, we now have our app counter 0 and this plus and minus. Okay, and we also want to have a login button, so we're gonna create another div below this div, and we're gonna add the button called login, like so. So if I save, go back, we have this login button. All right, so now we want to add some semantic UI buttons to make this look a little bit nicer. All right, so let's do this. And you also see that I have this big text, this big display. That's because I have the zoom at 400%, so you can see more clearly. I guess you have like this size, okay? But in this tutorial, we want to have this as big as possible, so we're gonna do 400%. Okay, so let's go to Semantic UI and go down and choose a button. So let's say you want to have green button for the plus button. So just click on this one to show the code, and we're gonna go to the green button. So we're gonna copy this one, class UI green button, like that. Copy and go back to VS Code, and we're gonna go right here to the plus button and paste it right here. And in React we are using class name, like so. So if I save this one, go to the React application, we now see a huge nice green button with the plus sign. So let's add the minus button. Let's go back, and we want to have the red button. Just find the red button, copy the code, go back and do the same thing right here. Change the name to class name and hit save. And let's go and have a look. And as you can see, we now have plus, we have minus, and let's do the login button as well. Let's go back and just choose a button you want to have. I want to have one of these. So let's say I want to have this one, blue. Click on this one and go and find the blue class. So this one, just copy, go back and do the same thing, paste it inside this button. Change the class to class name and hit save, and let's go back, like so. And as you can see, it would be nice with some space, so we can add some inline styling right here. And just do margin top colon, and inside single quotes we're gonna add maybe 15 pixels. Hit save and go back, and we have a space between the plus and minus, like so. Okay, so this looks much nicer. So the next step we're gonna do is to implement Redux. So let's do this. Okay, so let's go back to Visual Studio Code, and now we're gonna implement Redux. And as you can see, we're not using the logo anymore, so we can just delete this one. All right. Okay, so now we're gonna go and install Redux and React-Redux. So to do that, just go right here and open up a new terminal. And make sure that you are in the correct folder. Right now I'm in the wrong folder. I need to go to CD, Redux, my app. Hit enter, and now I'm in Redux my app, the correct folder. So now we're gonna do npm install Redux React dash Redux, hit space dash dash and save. Okay, after that just click on enter. So this will install Redux and React Redux to our project. Okay, so everything is installed. To check that we have everything, just go to this one, package.json, and go right here. We can see that we have Redux 4.0.5. We also have React-Redux 7.1.3. So everything is installed. Alright, so after that, we're just gonna go to index.js, and we're gonna go and import something called create store. Okay, from and inside single quotes Redux, like so, and end with a semicolon. You don't need to add a semicolon, it's up to you. Okay, so what is this create store? If you hold the mouse over this create store, you see this text that explains that this one creates a Redux store that holds the state tree. The only way to change the data in the store is to call dispatch on it. Alright, so there should only be a single store in your app. To specify how different parts of the state tree responds to actions, you may combine several reducers into a single reducer function by using combine reducers. Alright, you can also go to the Redux documentation. So I recommend you to open up Google, search for Redux docs, and choose this one, redux.js.org. And in this case, we want to search for create store. So click on one of these, and here you can see more information about this create store. You can see arguments, reducer, preloaded state, enhancer. We can also see examples and tips. So you can have this open during the whole tutorial, because we're gonna do some more searches in here. Alright, so let's go back to the application. Okay, so now we're gonna import something called a provider component. So we're just gonna do import and open and close curly braces, like so. And inside here we're gonna add provider and from. If you don't know if you want to do from Redux or React dash Redux, you can just go to the React Redux documentation right here, and we can search right here for provider, and I'm gonna do this one, basic tutorial, and here we can read about the provider, and we can see right here import provider from React Redux. Okay, so read about the provider right here, and also check out some examples how to use the provider right here. Okay, so let's go back. So we're gonna do this import from React Redux, like so. Okay, and also if you hold the mouse over provider, you will see that the provider makes the Redux store available to the connect function calls in the component hierarchy below. Okay, so provider is declared but its value is never read. All right. So what we want to do now is we want to wrap the provider around the app right here. So if I do like so, I'm gonna add provider, and I'm gonna add the app inside the provider like that, and I'm just gonna fix up like so, and inside the provider we're gonna add store equals, and inside here we're gonna add the store that we're gonna create from create store. So we're gonna do that in a second. So you can just go and do const store equals to create store, and inside here we're gonna add the reducers. All right, so we can go and add the store right here like so. Okay, so before we can add something right here in the create store, we need to add some reducers, and we're gonna add some actions. So first we're gonna add actions to our React Redux application. So I'm gonna go to source, right click, click on new folder. I'm gonna do actions like that, hit enter. All right, and inside of this folder we're gonna create a new file called counter actions.js like so, hit enter. Okay, so in here we're gonna add an increment and decrement action. So we're gonna do export const, and we're gonna call this increment. It's gonna be an arrow function like that, and we're gonna add return like so, and now we're gonna do a type, and we're gonna call this increment like so. So this is for the increment action, and we want to have a decrement action as well. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna do export const decrement arrow function return a type, and same thing here, we're gonna do a decrement like so. Okay, so that's it for the increment and decrement action. So when we're gonna call this action, we're gonna check for the increment, and if the type is increment, we're gonna do something, and same thing right here. If it's decrement, we're gonna do -1 or increment +1 to the state. Okay. All right. So now we're gonna create IsLogged In action to handle the login button. All right. So we're gonna go to actions, right click, click on new file, and we're gonna do IsLogged In action.js. Hit enter, and we're gonna do the same thing right here. We're gonna export a const named logged in, and we're gonna do an arrow function like so, and return an object with a type, just simple login like so. You can add whatever you like, But in this case, we're gonna check for the type login when we call this logged in action. All right. So now we're gonna go and create the reducers that gonna check for the type when we call these actions and return something after that. Okay. So let's do this. Okay. So first we're gonna go to the source folder, right click, click on new folder, and we're gonna create a folder called reducers. Hit enter. Like that. And now go to the reducers folder, right click, click on new file, and we're gonna name this to counter reducer.js, like so. Hit enter. Okay, so inside here we're gonna create a counter reducer. They're gonna check for increment and decrement and return +1 on increment and -1 on decrement. All right. So to do this, we're gonna create a const counter reducer, and we're gonna do an arrow function like so. And I'm just gonna zoom this like that. Okay, so now we're gonna add a switch to check for the action type. So inside here we're gonna add action.type. So first we're gonna add the state right here, and we're gonna set the state to 0. So we're gonna start with 0, and we're also gonna add the action like so. So now we can add inside here, we can add action dot type. So that means we're gonna check for the action, the type right here. So if it's increment, we're gonna do something, and if it's decrement, we're gonna do something. Okay. So now we're gonna just add a open and close curly braces. And we're gonna add a case with increment like that. And after that, we're gonna add a colon, and we're gonna return state. And we want to add +1 to increment the current state. Enter a semicolon, and now we're gonna do the second case with decrement like that, and do the same thing, colon, return state -1, and finish off with semicolon. And if the switch doesn't find increment or decrement, we're gonna add a default of return state. So we're just gonna return the same state as we got. All right, like that. And now we want to export default, and now we're gonna add a counter reducer to export. Okay. Like so. So that's it for the counter reducer. Okay, so this is the counter reducer that's gonna increment and decrement the number. So we're gonna start with the state of 0, like so. So let's go now and create the IsLog In Reducer. Okay, so to create the IsLog In Reducer, just go to Reducers, right click, click on new file, and name this to IsLog In Reducer. You can name it to whatever you like, and just hit enter, like so. So now we're gonna do the same thing as the counter reducer. So we're gonna add a const, and we're gonna name this to IsLogged In Reducer, like that. And it's gonna be an arrow function, and inside here we're gonna get the state as a boolean, and we're gonna set the state to false, and we're gonna add an action like that. All right, and in here we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna add a switch, and the switch is gonna check for an action dot type, and add an open and close curly braces like that. And we're gonna add a case, and we're gonna name this to login. All right, so the same thing in the isLogged action, we're gonna check for this one. All right, and we're gonna add a colon and return exclamation mark state, like so. That means it's gonna return the opposite of the state. So if the state is false, it's gonna return true. Okay, so now we're just gonna add a default to return the state, like so. Okay, and I'm just gonna add a semicolon right here and right here, and let's export this one. Export default and use this name, IsLogged In Reducer, like so, and finish off with a semicolon. Okay everyone, so this is the IsLogged In Reducer. Okay, so now we want to combine these reducers. So to do that, we're gonna go to reducers folder, right click, click on new file, and we're gonna name this index.js, like so. All right, so in here we're gonna import something called combine reducers. So we're gonna do import open and close curly braces, and inside here we're gonna import combine reducers, like that, from Redux. All right, so if you hold the mouse over, you can see that the combine reducers turns an object whose values are different reducers functions into a single reducer function. So it will call every child reducer and gather their result into a single state object whose keys correspond to the keys of the past reducer function. All right, so we're gonna import these reducers as well. So we're gonna import counter reducer, and we're gonna import the logged in reducer from IsLogged In Reducer, like so. Okay, so now we want to combine counter and logged in with the combined reducers. So to do that, we're just gonna create a const, and we're gonna name this to whatever we like. So maybe all reducers, joined reducers. So I'm gonna name this joined reducers, like so. And we're gonna do an equal. And now we're gonna take the combined reducers function, and we're gonna add an object with count. So this you can name whatever you like. And here we're gonna add the counter, like so. And same thing right here, we can add whatever you like. And we're gonna add the logged in reducer, like so. Okay, and after that we're just gonna export this. export default joined reducers, like that. Alright, so now we have combined all the reducers into one, to joined reducers. Okay, so now we're gonna go to index.js and we're gonna import this combined reducer. So import joined reducer from reducers. Alright, and because we have named this to index.js, we only need to add this folder name. We don't need to do like this index, like so, because if you named it index.js, it will automatically look for this file. Alright, so now we're gonna take the joined reducer and add it to the create store. I think I will name this to joined reducers, like so. Okay, so now we're gonna add this to the create store, joined reducers, like that. So now we have the joined reducers in the new store, and we're gonna pass this to the provider. Okay, we're also gonna do another thing. We're gonna add the Chrome extension so we can see the state in a nice way in the browser. Okay, so to do that, we're just gonna go and open up a new tab, and we're gonna search for Redux Chrome extension. Okay, and we're gonna go to this one, click on that. Alright, and go down. So install this installation. You can do for Chrome, Firefox, and other Electron, and also for other browsers and non-browsers environment. But in this tutorial we're gonna do the Chrome. So just go to Chrome Web Store and install this one, and after that go down and we're gonna copy this code under Basic Store. Just copy this code, copy, and go back to your application and just add a comma and paste it right here, like so. Okay, and save. And if you go to the browser, go to your application and click on inspect, and now go and click on these two arrows, click on Redux, and now we can click on state, and we can see our state. We can see count 0 and logged in false. And if I go back to the application and I'm going to index.js, the reducers, combined reducers, we can see count logged in. So this is the name of this one, count logged in. So I can go back and change these to maybe counter, hit save, and go to state, and you can see that we have changed the name. Alright, so just name this to whatever you like, like so. So this is a nice way that we can see the state get changed to 1, 2, 3, 4 and false to true and things like that. Alright, so let's go back. Okay, so now we're gonna go to this one, app.js, and we're gonna do the last thing to make everything work. So first we're gonna import something called use selector. So open and close curly braces, import use selector, like that, from React Redux. Okay, so inside the function app We're now gonna do const and name this to whatever you like, equals, and we're gonna use that selector function, and we're gonna do state, and we're gonna get the state.count. And the count we are getting from this one under reducers index. So in the joined reducers we see count. Okay, so let's go back, and I can console log this one. And let's go to the browser and save this file first, and click on right click, inspect, go to console, and we see 0. If I go back, we can go to counter reducer, and we can change the state to maybe 10. Click on save, let's go back, and we see 10 right here. Okay, so let's go and add 0 as state, and let's go back to app.js. Okay, so now we want to display the state.count right here instead of this hard-coded 0. So this will end up right here. All right. So to do that, we just gonna add an open and close curly braces, like so. And inside here, we're gonna add counter, like that. Okay, so save. Let's go to the browser, and we still see 0. And if I go to the reducer and change the state to 10 and save and go to the browser, we see 10. Okay, so it's working. I'm gonna change it back, save, and let's go back to app.js. And now I want to get the other state is logged in. So I'm gonna delete this one, and I'm gonna do the same thing. Const is logged in equals to use selector and state dot, and let's go to the index.js reducer, and we're gonna use this one, logged in, like so. Let's go back to app.js and paste it right here. Okay, so now we can go and check this one, console.log is logged in, hit save, and let's go to the browser, right click, click on inspect, click on console, and we see the current state of false, like so. So let's go back to Visual Studio Code. Okay, so now we can go and delete this line, console.log is logged in, and we can go right here next to use selector. We're gonna import something called use dispatch, this one. All right, so if you hold the mouse over, so a hook to access the Redux dispatch function. So we're gonna use this to call the action creators. Okay, so then we're gonna go down here. We're gonna add another const. Yes, do const dispatch equals to use dispatch, and with open and close parentheses, like so. So now we can use this one, dispatch, to call the action creators. All right, so now we're gonna go and import the action creators as well. So just do import, open and close curly braces. And now we're gonna import the decrement and increment, and you will find the name right here. If you go to counter actions, we're gonna use this name. Because we are doing export right here, we need to use the exact name right here. And the same thing with this one. Okay, if you do an export default, you can name it to whatever you like. But in this case, we're gonna add the same name as we named the action creator. And decrement like so. From actions and counter actions like so. And we are also gonna import the IsLogged action. So do the same thing, import, open and close curly braces, and just go to IsLogged action, and we're gonna use this name. Okay, go back and paste it right here and do from actions and this one IsLogged action like so. Okay, so now we're gonna go down to the buttons. Now we're gonna add the use dispatch. In my case, we now only use dispatch. Okay, so we're gonna do on click equals open and close curly braces, an arrow function like so, and call the dispatch, open and close parentheses, and inside here we're gonna do the increment on the plus, increment, and also an open and close parenthesis on increment like so. So that's it. We now have called increment right here and the dispatch right here. Let's go and check out the plus button. Save this, go to the browser, and we can go and open up this Redux Chrome extension. Click on Redux, click on state, and now we have count 0. So if I click on plus, like that, we now see 1, and we update the count state to 1. So if I click on plus again, we got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and we update the count to 9, like so. So let's go and fix the minus button. Let's go back and do the same thing. We can just copy this and paste it right here in the minus button and change increment to decrement like so. Let's go up and we can see that we're using decrement, and save this, go back to the browser and just go click on state right here, and now we can click on plus, and if you click on minus, this should decrement the number 8 like so. So we got 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Also we see the count update. So if I click on plus, we got 1. If I click on minus, we got 0. So everything works. Now we're gonna fix the login button. So we're just gonna, when we click on login, we're gonna hide the login button and show you are logged in, and we're gonna show another button, log out. So that's it. So we're gonna change the false to true, and then remove login and show a text and another button. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, so now we're gonna wrap this button into a conditional statement. So we're gonna do an open and close curly braces. Right here we're gonna add an open, and after button we're gonna close this one with a closed curly braces like so. And inside here we're gonna check if IsLogged is true or not. So I'm gonna do, if it's not true, like so, we're gonna show the button. So we always start with the state as false. So if it's not true, we're gonna show the button. Okay, so just do exclamation mark IsLogged, so this one, this current state, and question mark, and after that we're gonna add a button, and after the button we're gonna add a colon, null, like so. So if this is not true, like false, we're gonna show the button, otherwise we're gonna hide the button, so null. Alright, and we also need to add on click to change the is logged in to true when we click on the button. So we're gonna do on click equals open and close curly braces, and here we're gonna do an arrow function like so, and here we're gonna call the dispatch open and close parentheses, and in here we're gonna call this one the logged in action creator. So we're gonna do logged in open and close parentheses like so. So if you click on the button, this should change the state to true and hide this button. So let's try this out. Let's save and let's go to the browser and go and click on state. So we see logged in false. So if I click on login, we hide the button because the logged in is now true. And if this is true, this will no longer be valid, and we will show this one null. Alright? Okay, so now we want to add the second button, log out, with the text above you're logged in. Okay, so we're gonna replace this null with a div. Like so. And inside of this div, we're just gonna add a button and the text. So we're just gonna add you are logged in. Like so. And under this, we're gonna add a button. Like so. So let's go to the browser and check for a nice button. I'm gonna go to button, Semantic UI, and I'm gonna find a logout button. So I'm gonna click right here. So let's say I want to have a red button. So I'm gonna choose this one, copy the class, and let's go back and paste it right here, like so. And we want to do on click as well. So on click equals open and close curly braces, and here we're gonna add an arrow function like so. And now we want to call the login action creator with dispatch open and close parentheses, and we're gonna call this one login open and close parentheses like so, and we're gonna name this log out like so. So let's save this and have a look. Go to the application and let's check if plus works, minus works. Alright, and click on login. We got this text, you are logged in, and we got a logout button. And as you can see, if I click on state, the login is now true. So we're gonna show this one. And if I click right now, it disappears, and we get the login button one more time because this changed the state to false, like so. Okay, so if I go back to the code, so that means when we call the dispatch, we call the login action creator, and we're gonna check for login, and then we're gonna go to reducer, IsLog In Reducer, and we are checking for login. If login, we return the opposite of the state, so we're gonna return a true state. So this is how it works. Same thing if I go to app And if you call this one dispatch increment, we're gonna call the increment action creator. So if I go to counter action, so we're gonna check for a type called increment. And then we go to the reducer, counter reducer. And if the case is increment, we're gonna add +1. And if the case is decrement, we're gonna add -1 to the state, okay? And if nothing is true, we're gonna just return the state, okay? So if I go back, and that's it. This is the increment and decrement application with a simple login button just to change the login button to you're logged in, with the logout button, just a state of true or false, okay? Okay everyone, so I hope this helped. Okay everyone, so I hope this Redux tutorial was helpful. If you want, you can check out my latest video right here, subscribe right here, and also leave a comment below if you have any questions. So I hope you have an awesome day, take care, and bye.